Hello everyone and welcome into School Talk on December the 1st, 2020, live from the studios at WJHI Jeffersonville on 98.5 FM, along with WJHI.com and on TV cable 184. Hello everyone, I am Clay Abels. Welcome into School Talk here on December the 1st. We are joined today with a new special guest here with our show. It is our new Chief Financial Officer, our CFO, Laura Hubinger. Welcome into the show, Laura.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you in for the first time. I know it's been a very busy year for you, especially being a CFO in this area, year one. I know you've had plenty of experience, but let's just start off with this. You come in here to Greater Clark, year one, 2020. Couldn't have picked a better time, obviously, with everything's going on. How have you adjusted, and what's it been like here your first 5 or 6 months?
Well, it has been a fabulous experience. The area is just simply gorgeous. I have fallen in love with southern Indiana. Of course, Greater Clark County has my heart because the programs that are offered here, the kids that are here are fantastic. They achieve so much, and the camaraderie that they show through this difficult time with the coronavirus and their participation in school, you can tell they actually love their school, and I'm so proud to be part of that family.
For you, I know coming in, you're from the Gary area, your last job with Lake Ridge Schools. Tell us a little bit about your background being a CFO and how you eventually landed here at Greater Clark.
All right, so I've been doing this for about 27 years. I started my career out at Crown Point Schools. Prior to Greater Clark County Schools was ending with Lake Ridge Schools. They are a small school district that is nestled in between Gary Schools, Maryville Schools, Griffith, Indiana, Hammond, East Chicago. So it's pretty far north, just at the tip of Lake Michigan. So it's about 3.5 hours from here. But I really wanted to make this my home. This is where I wanted to land. So I'm just thrilled that everything is working out. Participating with all of our administrative team, our teachers, our kids. So it's a fantastic place.
Now, what led you to taking the position here at Greater Clark? I know it seems like you get along incredibly well with our new superintendent, Mark Loeffner. He's obviously been on the show a long time. When you went through the interview process, what said this is the place for me here at Greater Clark County Schools?
Well, you do evaluate the school corporation performance, what programs they do offer. Both Mark and I do have the same opinion that we're going to do everything we can for our kids. So that's really attractable. That's our primary goal. We want to make sure that our kids are afforded every opportunity. We are #1 in the state of Indiana. That's where we want to make sure we remain. So yeah, that was really the intriguing part, because we wanted to make sure that we assemble ourselves with plenty of forces and tools to give our kids what they need.
For you coming in, as we said, it's your first year here. Being a CFO, obviously I know you have a plethora of experience. You've been around a long period of time running school systems, but joining the world of COVID this year, I know that kind of throws everything out the window from any standpoint. How does COVID affect you day to day as a CFO? What do you do in terms of speaking with the superintendents, looking at your daily budget? How do things change this year from any year in the past?
Right, certainly a challenge. It's a challenge for everyone, but for school districts, you know, our goal was to make sure our kids had what they needed. Additionally, on a day-to-day basis, you know, we're monitoring that process. We did receive a CARES Act to kind of supplement some of the costs that COVID has endured onto schools. You know, we've bought protective wear, we have bought the cleaning supplies to make sure that we provide a clean, safe environment for our staff and students. In addition, it is really important that our students are fed every day. So we want to make sure that they still have those opportunities. So we make sure that that's being handled every day. We want to make sure that our community knows that that's available to them. And you know, the cost with COVID, there's a couple of factors with that. You want to make sure that students are safe on the bus as well. So we have endured some additional costs. However, we've been able to level out. The calendar that was put together this year handled the opportunities for parents to choose with e-learning or learning from home. And I think that gave a nice comfort to some of our families. in both arenas, for parents that do work, for students that do want to come to school. We think that's important as well. So it's a daily discussion, and we make sure that we are aware and always looking forward to try to anticipate anything that might come along. Our health department, Dr. Yazel, has been a very incredible partner to work with us, understanding our schedules, understanding our buses, understanding any athletics that have been going on. So he has communicated very clearly to our administrative team and Mark Loeffner, superintendent.
Here with Laura Hubinger, our CFO for Greater Clark County Schools on School Talk, December the 1st. I want to talk a little bit about, I know you mentioned things being different with COVID and budgetary. I know you've been trying to make some improvements in different things, whether it's PPE and also improving the learning environment. How are you guys optimizing learning and also maybe finding different ways, whether it's air filtration or lighting, to make things more efficient and better for students here at Greater Clark?
Right, so the superintendent has met with the community and the staff members to talk about the capital improvement plans that need to occur throughout the entire district. And one of the priorities became the optimal learning environment, where there's sufficient heating, cooling, and lighting. We're also putting in filtration systems to help filter the air, which is very important at this time. We do have a lot of work to do throughout the district. However, we're going to begin that this month. So that way we'll be working on that for the next several months for every school building. So that's geared up in our next project. So we want to make sure that our kids have that optimal learning environment, because we're aware that there could be areas where there's not sufficient lighting. You know, we're aware that we want to make sure that the heating and cooling is sufficient in all rooms. So that's a priority to us, and we think that the filtration will help with the safety as well. This project will save the district over $700,000 in
Wow.
energy savings. So, you know, when you're constantly talking about budgets, you always evaluate your expenses, and you always want to make your expenses as efficient as possible and increase your revenues. We believe that this will, you know, help our budget significantly.
How much does a budget get affected when a school schedule changes? I know, for example, we did very well with Greater Clark staying on task. I know only a few weeks missed here at Jeffersonville, not even due to COVID, just because of quarantine numbers everybody has to
Correct.
deal with. How much does that change when you have to go from in-person to online? How much does that change your day-to-day?
It doesn't, because it's just as important whether the students are in class or staff is in building as they are at home, because it is a continued reporting that we have to do for Dr. Yazel and the health department, you know, reaching out to us to let us know if there's any quarantines that need to go on, and we still track that data. So we still move forward every day. We still keep our operations going. We still have work to do, you know, every day. The business office just doesn't shut down, it seems. So, yeah, we just continue on providing what we need to our staff and our students every day.
Part of what I know is on your mind is preparing for next year as best you can in the future. Obviously, none of us know what next year is going to look like at this moment, but how have you started to prepare for next year? Can you prepare for next year at all? How have you worked a little bit? I know obviously you just mentioned with the learning and the lighting and things in that nature, but have you been able to strategize a little bit for next year at all, or is
Absolutely.
that more of a day-to-day mentality?
Right. Yes. You know, in our world, you do have to begin your budget process, and I did in June. So June, July, and August is a very intense time for the CFO. You are gathering plenty of data on each school and each department to make sure you understand what their prior year expenses were, what your current year expenses, and try to do those projections out. We have done we're in the middle of a facility study too to help us prioritize any building improvements, but we have engaged with a company called Policy Analytics who evaluates our projected assessed value, which is your property values throughout the district. We also did a demographic study that shows growth in students for Greater Clark. So you are always looking years in advance, so that way you are prepared for any increases there. One thing I do want to mention is that this area, the property values went up 8.1%, which was the best growth in the state of Indiana. So we're pretty proud of that. We built a balanced budget for next year, taking all things in consideration, trying to see if we can make sure that we can at least maintain and improve. That's always the goal every year. And always evaluating, what more we can do for our teachers, what support we can give our teachers, because that only affects our kids, and that's the number one goal. Safety and providing a fantastic learning environment for our kids. We want them to have all the advantages that we can provide for them here at Greater Clark.
You just touched on it a moment ago, facilities. That's been a huge topic on School Talk with Mr. Loeffner, along with bringing in Athletic Director Matt Barker and some of the other coaches around here in Greater Clark County schools. The facility is certainly on the rise. See a new football stadium at Jeffersonville and Charlestown, New Washington, a new basketball gym. What, for you, when you look at it from a CFO standpoint, how does adding those athletic facilities add value to not only the schools but the community as a whole? What do you see when you see those facilities put in as the addition for value inside of a school system?
Well, I strongly believe that all programs, including extracurricular activities, adds to the whole value of the child's learning experience. And so I think that our kids deserve those types of facilities. It makes them want to be here, and it just generates pride. We want them to be very proud of their schools that they're at. As a matter of fact, also inside of our next project, we are going to add, concessions, restrooms to these areas, because when I did attend these games, I saw a lot of pride, especially here at Jeff High, Charlestown High. It is incredible. So we also want to make sure that those that pay to get into the game, can have that full experience. So we're working really hard to make sure that everybody's proud of their school, and something to give them some momentum in their progress. And when those athletes step into the school, that just spreads amongst everyone, and the interaction and activity that all kids want to be involved in their school. So that's important. That goes a long way. It can go generations. So that's how I see it.
Last question I'll ask you here on School Talk, your long-term vision. What do you hope to accomplish here at Greater Clark County Schools 1 year, 5 years down the road? What's, say, your top 2 or 3 things that you really hope to accomplish here as the CFO?
Well, we definitely want to build some cash balance. We want to definitely continue to maintain our facilities. Our facilities, they have not had an opportunity to really invest in those facilities. There's tax caps that I'm sure that constituents are aware of that kind of limit our funds coming in, which is one thing that you do consider when you're budgeting. So we are going to progressively improve our facilities in some renovations.
Hello everyone, and welcome into School Talk here on 98.5 WJHI, LP Jeffersonville, home of the Red Devil Network. Live from the television studios today at WJHI, I am Clay Abels with School Talk on November the 3rd, also on TV Cable 184. With me today is our Superintendent, Mark Loeffner. How are we doing today, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me on, Clay. I appreciate it.
You're here with us during our fall e-learning break. Let's start off with that. I know we'll get to the second semester calendar here in a minute, but with the fall e-learning break, I know COVID numbers have risen. This was, I know, part of your plan to have a break in between, keeps kids safe, keeps them away from the school. Talk about how you guys go through planning for COVID and try to adjust as best as possible, because this worked out quite well, that with the numbers coming up, you could keep people apart and keep people safe.
Absolutely. Last summer when we were looking at a schedule, a calendar to start school, obviously we wanted to start on time, but also what we were hearing from the medical professionals was that there would be another round of COVID, and uptick in cases probably in the fall when the weather turned and got colder. So we built in our calendar, those breaks, and this is one of them. We're very happy that we have this break built in, especially with the uptick in cases here in Clark County and throughout the country and the state of Indiana. So this week's e-learning for us, and when you look at the rest of the calendar for this first semester, after this week we have 2 weeks of in-person instruction, and then after that we go back to e-learning for the rest of the semester. So we're actually done with in-person instruction on November 20th, I believe it is. So we feel good about where we're at calendar-wise. We had planned for this, and it's working out.